And welcome to the Living Large Theater with Gary Rodriguez and Billy Santiago.
Step inside the Living Large Theater, admissions free, but you must bring your sense of humor and thirst for knowledge. This is where we talk about current events, lifestyles. We go into the room of cooking, sports, travel, music, etc. We talk a little bit about politics, and we always say WTF. That is the Living Large Theater with Gary Rodriguez and Billy Santiago. Now remember, we talk, but you are the most important person.
And welcome to another edition of the Living Large Theater Podcast. I'm Billy Santiago along with my good friend Gary Rodriguez.
Hey, Billy, thanks a lot. We want to welcome you to the Living Large Theater, admissions free. You must bring your sense of humor and a thirst for knowledge. We got Noe Ayala, our producer here. Noe,
What's
thank
up,
you so
Noe?
much. Couldn't do it without Noah. He keeps us together, and in fact, he has everything going for us. It's the Living Large Theater.
Yeah. And our sponsors, Gary, want to thank our sponsors.
Mattress Masters, Ponca City, Oklahoma, Big Five Gun Range, and Henderson Toyota, Osceola, Florida. So, you know, Bill, we have this podcast going on. We're just trying to be entertaining. I'm not right. I'm probably wrong most of the time. You're right, rarely wrong, but it's an avenue for us to try to express the things that we're thinking right now, things that, you know, we can say things on this that we couldn't say in our, you know, I had 30 years in radio. You probably had 40 or 45.
44.
You had 44 years in radio. My time in radio was awesome, man, you know, but
it's just the business has changed so much.
It was more of a craft back then. It was more of a craft where, you know, you were on the radio, great, you're on the radio, but to be good on the radio and to stand out from everybody else on the radio, it requires dedication, it requires attention, it requires you to keep on learning. And I remember Ed Shane, he was our consultant at B104, All Hit Music and more, and he was brutal. I mean, this guy would literally make me sick when he would call the station to consult me on my newscasts. And, you know,
he would air check you at least once a week. Yeah.
Oh, God. For the most part, most of my career was done reading the news. But
the Monitor, the newspaper. Yeah.
I'd get the Monitor was one of my sources for news. I mean,
okay.
But in a pinch, it was everything. Thank God it would be out there sitting when I got to the radio station.
Because, you know, when I was at the college radio station, we had the AP wire.
Yeah.
Teletype.
Yeah.
So this is where we got our news. But when at B1, we didn't have a teletype. We didn't have an AP. So we had
a sound effect that sounded like a teletype. But it was just a sound effect. So, you know, but yeah, radio has changed. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't listen to radio anymore. I think one of the things that radio as an industry did was shoot itself in the foot back in the 90s by encouraging people to create their own commercial-free radio station through whatever platform. And, you know, I guess my thought was, if I'm a car dealership advertising on a radio station and they're saying, and the jocks are saying, hey, make sure you create your own commercial-free radio station on this platform, I think I'd be pissed if I'm spending money on this radio station and these air personalities are telling people to create their own commercial-free radio station.
Well, you know, every research project I've ever was involved in, Gary, there's three things people always say about your radio station.
Okay.
You play the same music over and over, you talk too much, and you play way too many commercials.
Well, the commercials are kind of a necessary evil.
That's how we generate revenue. That's how we would get paid,
yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
But so they had to come up with different platforms to entice people to keep listening.
Well, but
and what they would do is, if you listen to some of these commercial-free stations now, they would play an ad before it would start.
Yeah.
When you tuned in, and then when you tuned out, you would probably see another ad. So that's how they got their messages across there. So people who gravitated to that. And then advertisers would see, "Ooh, these people are starting to listen to these platforms. Let me take some of my advertising budget
and
off
put
terrestrial radio,
yeah,
and put it on the digital platform." And that's what's happening, Gary. And now with audio being so ginormous, I mean, you know, we're doing our podcasts here, and there are thousands and thousands of podcasts everywhere. I mean, I listen to on an average of 5 podcasts a week.
Yeah.
Just, self-improvement. I'm into retirement podcast. I'm into investing podcasts, so the platform's there. And so now you have advertisers who are looking at the growth of podcasting
Yeah.
and saying, I got to put, so it's taking money where from? Hopefully they're taking money away from cable TV and regular TV and putting it on this digital platform, audio platform, versus taking it from terrestrial radio. That's the thing that you don't want to see happen. But it happens, Gary. Things change. Now we have social media. Social media is huge.
Yeah.
And people want to be on. It's like the trendy thing to do.
I just, but going back to your point one, you play the same song. I remember when you were in charge of B104, Dusty Hayes was in charge of B104, the programming. JD Gonzalez was in charge of B104 programming. You couldn't fail at that format because right off the bat, it said top 40. And guess what? You take the top 40 songs, the 40 best songs in the country, and you play the shit out of them. I think that's a winning formula. But when you play songs, you play the same song over and it's not a good song.
Right. That's when they say you play the same song.
Yeah. When the song sucks,
Right.
And I remember K-Tex did a promotion a long time ago. Had some
K-Tex is our country radio station here in the Rio Grande.
Had some nitwit there named Monty Lewis, and they came up with some scheme to try to increase listenership. And what they did was they pretended that the computer was broken. And so they couldn't play any new shit. They could only play old shit. And everybody was going like, wow, leave the computer broken and keep playing this old classic country music. And I think the whole concept, the whole promotion, the whole idea backfired on K-Tex because the old music that was playing supposedly because the computer broke was better than all the new shit that they were playing. The other thing is, when your morning jock on a radio station says, hey, why don't you make sure and watch Dancing with the Stars tonight on ABC?
And you would, right?
No, hell no. I never watched
You
Dancing with the Stars.
You didn't like Dancing with the Stars, Gary?
No. And my point is,
you would look good as some spandex, baby.
If my if my morning show on-air personalities are sending the listener away from the radio station that night for 1 or 2 hours, why doesn't the morning show guy say, hey, our evening girl is
he'll do that too. I mean, he'll promote the evening girl.
But I guess I learned this from JD Gonzalez. You never, ever, ever talk about the enemy, which is another radio station, or TV. You never send people away from the radio station. Now, I think that's my point. That's the way I learned it. Is it right? I don't know. I learned it from JD, who I think is one of America's greatest masterminds in their whole entire radio format.
I was reading this research book, and the opening chapter, guy was talking about, us who are in radio, we live, we eat, we breathe it 24/7. It's in our blood. That's what we do for a living.
Yeah.
But the average person treats your radio station like an appliance. When they want to hear something, music or news, they'll turn you on. When they don't want to hear, they'll turn you off and won't think twice about it.
Yeah, just like this podcast. I think we're lucky if we have 5 people, probably closer to 3 people listening.
Well, we appreciate that.
I do, because even if it's 1, I'm still going to do this podcast. Because I feel that this is a medium that allows us to be expressive. Yeah, I throw a few F-bombs out there, but what the fuck, I mean, Billy's a lot more restrained than I am, and I appreciate working with you, Bill. But getting back to radio and what it did to itself, I think it's a travesty. I think it was an unforced error. I think that radio as a medium, as I learned it, was something that was respectable, that it was a craft that can, but Gary, it only gets better if you want to get better.
92% of the people still listen to terrestrial radio every day. Okay. So it hasn't gone away.
Okay.
I mean, the thing that the radio was fighting is when people get in their car.
I don't believe that statistic. 92%.
92%.
Shit.
That's research, dog.
There's too many podcasts. There's Apple Music. There's Spotify.
And now I'm not saying they listen to them for hours and hours of time. They still because they got to get in their car.
Okay, I would probably qualify that statistic. I wouldn't say they listen to the radio. I think they may hear the radio. And the other thing is this: if you're at a country western station and you're the top guy at that radio station, I'm not talking about any country western station in particular, but I'm just saying if you're the top guy or girl in that radio station, when you're out on the town doing a remote, you better wear a fucking cowboy hat and a shirt with pearl buttons and a big belt buckle and Wrangler blue jeans.
Why are you so
cowboy boots?
Why you stereotype people listen to country?
Because if you're going to be in country, you got to live the part. It goes back to what you were saying just now. You've got to live the format.
So you got to have a belt buckle, or you're not a country guy.
Yeah, if you're on the radio, it's all perception, Billy. It's all perception. I don't want to see a guy wearing, wind pants and Nike tennis shoes at the remote.
If he wears a pair of spandex with some boots, are you okay with that?
I'm not. The spandex is fine, but the boots probably too tight. I'm just saying, if you're whatever format you're on, like I've been to Dallas. I was on the morning show with JD Gonzalez one time. He let me be on his show with him one time, and he's in charge of like 5 or 6 stations,
right?
And each station had a different format. One was jazz, one was sports, one was I think Tejano or Internacional. And it's weird, in the course of this 5-hour time that I was up there, you would see the jocks roll in and they go to their radio station. Well, they look like the music they're playing. The jazz guys, wearing nice little jackets and
what was my signature attire?
I know damn well what your signature attire was.
Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
Okay. That was my profile. And then when I was younger, I had the corduroy vest.
Yeah.
And then I had the corduroy jacket with the patches on the elbows. Yeah. That was me.
I always aspired to be that guy. I never had that jacket.
But I've never, and I've been in Texas since 1972, Gary. I have yet to own a pair of cowboy boots and a cowboy hat. And a belt buckle.
In some parts of Texas, Billy, that's illegal. I'm not going to call the cops on you, but that's illegal. You have to have a pair of Wrangler jeans, a cowboy hat, a pair of cowboy boots.
Now I own some Wrangler jeans now.
Okay, and you got to have
loose fit.
You got to have that big belt buckle, to show that you're in Texas.
Now, do you got to put some chew between your cheek and gum?
I did that in high school. Totally disgusting. I used to dip skull. It was
when I was a sophomore in high school, Gary, buddy of mine, he dipped it all the time, and I used to steal cigarettes from my dad. He used to smoke Salem Lights, and I used to smoke cigarettes, and then I tried that chewing tobacco. Oh my God, I got sick. I was throwing up.
It's a nasty habit.
It's a bad habit.
It's a nasty habit. In fact, I took a air conditioning class in high school, and this one guy was dipping all through the class and spitting into his little empty Dr. Pepper bottle. And somebody in the class offered him $5 to drink the 2 inches or 2.5 inches of spittle that he had been spitting in there all morning long. And he did it. And he went home immediately sick as a dog.
Our former boss, Dusty Hayes, he used to have a spit tune in his office. I remember we used to have our Tuesday morning music meetings after a couple of Casa de Tacos, and then we'd get into our music. And he puts a little dip into his mouth, and he's dipping it. I'm going like, dude, grossing me out, man.
Yeah, it was bad. I stopped. I stopped. I think I did it for about 2 or 3 years.
How do you feel about calf roping, Gary?
What about it?
How do you feel about the sport of calf roping?
I'm okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't have any feelings about it.
You don't have any feelings?
None.
Did you go to a rodeo? You like watching that stuff at a rodeo, calf roping events?
I don't. I guess the last rodeo I went to was one at the livestock show here, but I only went for the Midland show to see the concert.
I remember that night. Yeah.
I don't get it.
I was feeding you and your date beer that night.
Dude, thank you so much.
Dory. So we're having this big festival, and we got about 13,000 people to watch Midland at the livestock show and rodeo in Mercedes.
It was crazy.
And there's my good old friend, Payway Gary. We're sitting there just having a good time, and I'm feeding Gary the cold ones, man.
Oh, that was good. And you know, the good thing about it is I had access to the bands, you know, but I guess my point is about the calf roping. I don't have my what do you think about it? Is it cruel or what?
Yeah, I went to see Clint Black at the Houston Livestock Show and Rodeo back in 1994. And before, he comes out after the rodeo's over,
Yeah.
and they were doing the calf roping event. I mean, it's sporty, but then I love the bull
Not
riding.
your cup of tea.
The bull riding I love.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. That's
I don't know, man. I don't have much of an opinion. I don't do rodeos either.
Could you be a rodeo clown, Gary?
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, you know, I think I could in that I'm an entertainer. I like being an entertainer. I think that's an opportunity.
You like getting poked?
Well, I like I like to entertain. I tell you what, at my age, I'm still pretty quick. I don't think the bull would be able to get a hold of me. But you know, rodeos and radio have changed so much, and I think for the largest part, I think the consumer is the one that's losing out, because you know there was a time that you could listen to the radio all morning long. When we were at B104, people listened all day long to that one radio station, where they were at home getting ready, in their car going to work, at work, after work, and back at home.
But now there's so many platforms to get music, Gary. You know what? I didn't realize this until I took this road trip with my daughter to Dallas for her volleyball tournament. I have 544 songs on my phone.
Wow, that's good.
I didn't realize that, so I plugged it in. I'm listening to my playlist because I always make. I'm big on making playlists.
Yeah.
Before I travel,
I'm not. I have all my music on one playlist, so I can go from Pedro Infante to the Rolling Stones to Midland to the Beatles to Pepe Aguilar.
And that's what people are into now. Remember that platform Napster?
Yeah. Sean Parker invented that.
Yeah, people used to steal from Napster all the time.
You know what Sean Parker's biggest contribution to Facebook was? When he told Mark Zuckerberg, because Facebook used to be called the Facebook, and Sean Parker told Mark Zuckerberg, he says, lose the. He goes, lose the. He says, just Facebook. And that's when Zuckerberg changed it to Facebook. Hey, our email address is the Living Large Theater at gmail.com. Send us a message, send us a comment, something
good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't matter. We'd like to hear
something good, something bad.
If there's some subjects you want us to cover, we'd love to hear from you. Hey, Gary, we're talking about music. I came across this article on BuzzFeed.com. They came out with the 10 artists who were guilty of plagiarism.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and some of these I knew about, but I did not know a couple of these.
Outright plagiarism or sampling?
Okay, like, remember the Robin Thicke and Pharrell song, Blurred Lines?
No.
Well, they took a they took a sampling of Marvin Gaye's Got to Give It Up from the 70s. And, they had to pay $5 million.
Oh, wow.
To
what about Vanilla Ice? He sampled some.
He sampled Under Pressure by Queen and David Bowie.
Did he have to pay out
without giving them credit? He had to pay them an undisclosed amount of money.
Wow!
But here's two that I found out and about that were very interesting. Led Zeppelin's "Whole Lot of Love."
Yeah,
they had to pay an
a whole lot of love. What a whole lot of love.
They had to pay an undisclosed amount of money to songwriter Willie Dixon for ripping off his song by Muddy Waters, "You Need Love." Did not know that.
Wow.
And then Led Zeppelin song, "Bring It On Home." That's another Willie Dixon song that they stole for the song "Bring It On Home" by Sonny Boy Williamson. So those two.
How about George Harrison? Remember he wrote a song,
"My Sweet Lord."
My Sweet Lord.
He's So Fine by Chiffons. He had to pay $587,000.
Yeah, and then he wrote a song back to them calling this song, where he eventually said something like, "Screw you."
Yeah. And here's one: the Beach Boys, "Surfing USA." It was a ripoff of Chuck Berry's "Sweet Little 16."
Oh my! Wow. I tell you what, man, there's one song that I love back from the surfing days, "Wipeout" by the Surfaris.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. It was done by the Surfaris and the Ventures. I can never figure out who was first, but the Surfaris made it famous.
Noe, instrumentals. What are some of your favorite instrumental songs, Noe, off the top of your head? Do you have one?
I got one while he thinks. Cantaloupe by Us Three.
Oh,
the
yes.
instrumental version.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah, the instrumental is really good.
You don't have one, though?
Yeah, I'd like
Herb Albert, the Tijuana Brass.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun. That ring a bell?
Yeah,
Dun, dun.
yeah, it doesn't sound like that. But
That reminds me of Married with Children.
And then there was this song by Paul Hardcastle called 19. It was a song written about the Vietnam War. It's not really an instrumental, but it was just a banging song. And then he had another song that was instrumental. It was called Rainforest.
Oh, nice.
You heard that? And then Chuck Nobles used to be my talkover song when I did high school football scoreboards on Friday.
Oh, okay.
The horse.
Yeah.
Remember? Bum, 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 dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Remember?
That's,
You look at me like, what the hell are you
I
talking
have no
about?
idea. I must not have been listening.
But you throw, I'm really surprised you threw out Us Three by Cantaloupe.
Oh my goodness.
That's an
one
awesome
of my favorite
song, you know?
Hard driving, yet very relaxing as well. Hey, this has been the Living Large Theater with Gary Rodriguez and Billy Santiago. Our email address, shoot us a message, good, bad, indifferent, the Living Large Theater at gmail.com.
And also, we kind of just talk about stuff that's just off the top of our head. If there's a subject matter you'd like for us to cover on our podcast, let us know. We'll do the research. Gary does a lot of research for the show. I'll do as little as possible, but if I get around to it, I'll do some. And we'll talk about it. We love to share our thoughts on things. We don't take ours like the title of the show says, Living Large Theater.
It's all theater, man. It's all theater.
And bring your sense of humor and your what's our motto there, Gary?
Thirst for knowledge.
Thirst for knowledge, and we're here for you.
Attaboy. Join us next time, the Living Large Theater. Remember, the Living Large Theater at gmail.com. See you next time. Adios.